Good evening. It's 8 o'clock. The top headlines tonight. Could the Maharashtra cabinet swearing in happen tomorrow? Chief Minister Shinde is unwell. Deputy Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis flies to Delhi, apparently with a list to be cleared by the BJP High Command. It's been over a month. There's no cabinet yet in Maharashtra. A Supreme Court verdict also on disqualification of MLAs could happen next week, or it will be referred to a constitutional bench. China fires ballistic missiles into waters around the Taiwan coast. Meanwhile, the Association of Southeast Asian Countries warns of risks of miscalculation of the situation. This as India red flags a China ship which is docking in Sri Lanka next week. Chaos in Parliament again today, this time over the Enforcement Directorate sealing a National Herald office. We will not be intimidated, says Rahul Gandhi. The Government Minister Piyush Goyal says the Enforcement Directorate is working independent of the government. From 6,300 rupees cash in 2011 to crores in 2022, the story of Partho Chatterjee and the charges against him. Rejected job aspirants speak to NDTV, say they were asked to pay 20 lakhs to get a teacher's job. RBI rate hike decision tomorrow. This as the UK has announced the sharpest rate hike in 27 years, trying to fight inflation. Meanwhile, global oil price is down to $95, the same as before the Ukraine war. 1,400 crore drug haul in Mumbai, the biggest this year. A chemistry postgraduate student was involved in making of the drugs MD. Well, breaking on NDTV now, could a Maharashtra cabinet expansion happen tomorrow? As usual, there's a twist in the tail. Sohit has the details. Sohit, what news do we have of a possible cabinet expansion? It's been over a month already.
Absolutely. In fact, Sonia, it has been 35 days in Maharashtra. There are only two ministers, which includes the Chief Minister Eknath Shinde as well as the Deputy Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis. Today, the Deputy Chief Minister is in Delhi. He has reached Delhi. He is speaking to the High Command as we speak. And it is expected that today there might be green signal given by the Delhi BJP High Command on who all should be included in the cabinet expansion. Now, as per my sources, a lot of things are being discussed. In fact, a new pattern is being discussed as well on what should be the cabinet all about. Should it include all those ministers who were earlier ministers in the previous cabinet, be it the 2014 to 2019 or the 2019 to 2022 MDA government, or whether there should be a chance given to the new leaders as well as given that a new government is coming in power. So these all things are being discussed, but at the same time what needs to be questioned is that Chief Minister Eknath Shinde, who last month went to Delhi 4 times, is not going to Delhi. Now, whether we should call this timing as a mere coincidence, or is it that Shinde is upset is not being said as of now, but the team of Eknath Shinde has told that he is unwell, and that is the reason he has cancelled all his programs today, and Devendra Fadnavis is the only one who is going to Delhi. What you see behind me is the office of Prasad Lad. He is known to be very close to Devendra Fadnavis, and even when we are reporting from here, the workers of his own team are asking us whether Prasad Lad will be included or not. So this is how tight-lipped everyone is regarding what will happen next, who all will be included in the cabinet. The governor of Maharashtra, Bhagat Singh Koshyari, he is in Mumbai tomorrow. On Saturday, he is going to Delhi because of an event, and on Sunday again he is back. So it is being said that tomorrow is the day when a cabinet expansion will happen. In Maharashtra, including the Chief Minister, there are 43 cabinet berths. While Chief Minister is still there, there are 42 cabinet berths that are still lying vacant.
Right.
And that is the reason this entire discussion is happening. How much will go to the Shiv Sena, how much will go to the BJP. And remember that the rebel MLAs with Eknath Shinde are around 40. There will be several promises that were made to them when they chose the
no, and many of them, of course, were senior ministers of Uddhav.
So all of this is being happening.
Yes, so it's a complicated situation there, and of course you got the Supreme Court as well, where there's a heated hearing going on currently between both camps of the Sena, the Shinde camp and the Uddhav Thackeray camp. But some minor relief from the Supreme Court for the Uddhav Thackeray camp, as they've restrained the Election Commission from deciding a plea by Eknath Shinde to recognize his group as the real Shiv Sena and to get the party symbol. The Supreme Court will take a call on Monday whether this matter should now be referred to a constitutional bench. The lawyer for Uddhav Thackeray and Mr. Kapil Sibal had argued that there should be a decision taken first on disqualification of MLAs before the EC takes a decision. Harish Salve had argued that this issue is not an issue of defection but of dissent within the party. Meanwhile, let's go across to the other big headline, the Taiwan situation and China's military drill, which included much more today. Vishnu, what's the latest with China today?
Well, let's bring you the latest details, and this is a very belligerent China. A lot of saber rattling, Sonia, which has also been taking place. So let's bring you a few details. China has fired several Dongfeng ballistic missiles into waters around the northeast and southwest coast of Taiwan. As you can see over there, the missiles being fired. Now, these live fire drills began at 12 in the afternoon, their time, expected to end on Sunday. That's when China says that they will end these exercises. Very belligerent exercises targeting the waters around Taiwan. Taiwan's defense ministry says it has activated related defensive systems because of these Chinese missile launches. And you know, there's a lot of footage which you can actually see. It's been released on social media in China. And you know, it's meant to send a signal that, look, this is what we are doing. Now, over and above this, China has added a 7th danger zone around Taiwan. There were 6 previously where these exercises were being held. So they've added another one, and the US, which is monitoring the situation, has sent a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, the USS Ronald Reagan, towards Taiwan. It says it's normal scheduled operations in the Philippine Sea, but rest assured they are certainly keeping an eye on what's happened. That warship has 100 aircraft on board. China has cancelled a meeting between Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi and his Japanese counterpart after the release of a statement by the Group of 7 nations about Taiwan. China didn't like that statement. And Taiwan's Taiwan International Airport, that's where Nancy Pelosi landed, has now seen more than 50 international flight cancellations because of China's live fire drills. Sonia?
Right, and Vishnu, of course, while we are tracking that situation, also what's very important is what's going to be happening with a Chinese ship which is heading to Sri Lanka. Now, India also, of course, concerned about that. And in ASEAN today, earlier issued a statement saying that they must also look at what's actually happening and the volatility in the region and any miscalculation that happens there. Let's just hear what Anthony Blinken said before we go to what exactly is happening with that ship heading to Sri Lanka.
Compare notes with our closest partners, starting with my longtime friend, the Indian Foreign Minister Jaishankar. So this is an opportunity for us to compare notes as we head into these very important ASEAN meetings. We're both strong proponents of ASEAN centrality. We have a shared vision together for a free and open Indo-Pacific that we work on in so many different ways.
Let me reciprocate your sentiment. I think it's always good to meet. There's a lot that we need to talk about, and it's actually been a very busy year. We had a very good Quad, and since then I think a number of developments all over the world. And thank you for the time so that we can exchange notes.
So India, of course, wasn't signatory to that statement because it's not part of ASEAN. Mr. Jaishankar there, a special guest. But Vishnu, this is really what's going to be the focus of Indian security and the strategic establishment is this Chinese ship. Why is this ship so controversial?
Well, as we look at Chinese saber rattling off the coast of Taiwan, India, we have our own security concerns in the high seas. The latest one concerns the arrival of a state-of-the-art missile tracking ship from China. It's expected to dock in Hambantota, Sri Lanka on the 11th or the 12th of this month. Now, the ship is the Unwell 5. It tracks satellites and intercontinental ballistic missiles. If deployed in parts of the Indian Ocean, it may be able to monitor India's missile tests from Wheeler Island off the coast of Orissa. Now, by tracking Indian ballistic missile tests, China will be able to glean information on the performance of Indian missiles and the exact range of these missiles. Now, the ship itself is a crew of 400. It has a large parabolic tracking antenna, various sensors. The ships are controlled by the China National Space Administration, but have some very serious military applications. And Sonia, India and Sri Lanka both keeping track of this very, very closely.
Right, Vishnu, and of course, already the Sri Lankan opposition is asking why Sri Lanka has actually given permission for the Chinese ship to dock here, so that diplomatic maneuvering going on currently as we speak. Meanwhile, let's go back to political manoeuvring, and in Parliament today it is dominated by clashes between the government and the opposition over the Enforcement Directorate's searches and sealing of the Young India office yesterday at the National Herald building in New Delhi. Today, the leader of opposition in the Rajya Sabha of the Congress, Mallikarjun Kharge, was summoned by the ED. He's still currently with the ED at the Young India office as searches are continuing. Congress leader Rahul Gandhi said that they will not be intimidated. This, as Piyush Goyal said, that the Enforcement Directorate has nothing to do with today's government.
हम इंटिमिडेट नहीं होंगे, हम नरेंद्र मोदी से नहीं डरते हैं, समझ गए बात? कर लें जो करना है, कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा। जो मेरा काम है देश की रक्षा करना, लोकतंत्र की रक्षा करना, देश में जो हार्मनी है उसको मेंटेन करना, वो मैं करता रहूंगा। ये कुछ भी कर लें।
प्रोग्राम्स भी उपलब्ध है, उसके तहत आप बैठ जाइए सर, आप बैठ जाइए। Please do not waste the time of the House. Honorable LOP, please allow the House to proceed.
The National Herald case stalled Parliament again today with Congress MPs protesting over the alleged misuse of central agencies. The latest trigger was Mallikarjun Kharge, leader of the opposition in Rajya Sabha and also the principal officer of Young Indian Limited, a Congress-run firm, who was summoned by the Enforcement Directorate to aid their search of the Herald House office. Amidst much shouting, he was countered by Union Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal.
पार्लियामेंट जब चल रहा है तो ईडी का समन आता है, आप जल्दी आइए। वो पर्पसली ये कर रहे हैं कि हमको डिमोरलाइज करने के लिए, हमको खत्म करने के लिए, डराने के लिए। हम डरेंगे नहीं, हम फाइट करेंगे। इसमें सरकार किसी तरीके से, सरकार कभी भी जो लॉ एनफोर्समेंट अथॉरिटीज है उसके काम में दखल अंदाज नहीं देती।
Mr. Kharge, what do you have to say on the allegations that have...
After raising the issue in Parliament, Kharge complied with the ED summons and reached the Herald House, where the agency completed the search proceedings. Opposition parties issued a joint statement on Wednesday, raising concern over the recent PMLA judgment.
ED sources say the search proceedings have been completed in the National Herald case, and very soon the alleged proceeds of crime in this case will be attached, followed by a charge sheet against Gandhis. With camera person Sanjay Kaushik, this is Arvind Gunasekar for NDTV.
And meanwhile, in West Bengal, the Enforcement Directorate is doing more searches at different properties they say belong to Partha Chatterjee, ex-minister, and his close aide Arpita Mukherjee. But the people most impacted today are those aspirants who say that they didn't get jobs as teachers because they didn't have the money to pay the bribe. Some aspirants say they were asked for bribes for up to 20 lakhs. Now remember, this is when teachers make just about 20 to 30,000 a month. They couldn't pay, so they say they didn't get the job. Also, now looking at Partha Chatterjee's election affidavits, he had only 6,300 crores cash in 2011. It went up to 1,50,000 in cash after that. And now, how is it that crores have been found in flats allegedly belonging to his close aide?
Fresh searches by the Enforcement Directorate in connection with the teachers' recruitment scam. But no recoveries in this posh apartment complex, where the ED team broke into a flat on the 5th floor. Meanwhile, these candidates claim they lost out on jobs that were rightfully theirs to people who were pushed up the merit list and given jobs in spite of not making the cut. They say it was their continued protests since 2019 that led to the matter reaching the High Court, which ordered a CBI probe, after which the ED got involved. Sangeeta Nag alleges recruitments were based on bribes and not merits.
पैसे के बदले में हुआ है, तो वो सब पैसे कहाँ गए? कहीं ना कहीं तो गए हैं ना। तो हमें लगता है कि वो सारे पैसे जो अभी हमको दिख रहा है टीवी पे, वो सारे पैसे उसी क्या है।
Job seekers like Sangeeta feel they've lost out on hard-earned opportunities because they did not pay a bribe.
हाई सेकेंडरी स्कूल की टीचर के लिए 20 लाख तक पैसे मांग रहे थे वो लोग, और ऐसे शायद होगा, मतलब बहुत सारे लोग ऐसे हो सकते हैं कि जो लोग ऐसे 20 लाख देके नौकरी कर रहा है.
Meanwhile, Partha Chatterjee, who had cash amounting to only 6,300 rupees, according to his election affidavit in 2011, now has cash of around 1,50,000 rupees as mentioned in his 2021 election affidavit. A key contrast to this pile of currency notes recovered from his aid. ED sources claim Partha Chatterjee remains non-cooperative, but searches will continue based on what his close aide Arpita Mukherjee has revealed to the agency.
For the Enforcement Directorate, massive cash recoveries early on in the investigation came as a shot in the arm. But the challenge for the agency will be proving that the recoveries are indeed proceeds of crime and linked to Partha Chatterjee. And for that to happen, it will have to depend on the CBI to prove the alleged irregularities in the teachers' recruitment scam and the charges against him. In Kolkata, with camera person G.D. Shankar, Saurabh Gupta, NDTV.
Well, the other big headline tomorrow, a big day, is the RBI will decide whether it will raise rates or not after its monetary policy meet. Priyanshi has the latest details on what's expected. Priyanshi.
Sonia, there are multiple worrying signs right ahead of the Reserve Bank's rate hike decision. Number one, rupee weakened by 31 paise and ended at 79.47 per dollar, falling for the second straight session. Now, rupee's value against the dollar is falling as dollar's rate is climbing up. This is primarily because the Fed recently signaled that they will keep raising interest rates till inflation comes in control. The fear of high borrowing costs is again taking global investors back to the safe currency, which of course is the dollar, and that's taking the dollar's demand and its rate up. Now, the second factor is that markets ended that 6-day winning streak. Sensex was down 52 points and ended at 58,298, while Nifty lost 6 points and settled at 17,382. Now, markets were clearly volatile ahead of the Reserve Bank's decision. Now, experts predict a 30 to 50 basis point Reserve Bank rate hike. Along with that decision, we'll also have to see whether the inflation and GDP forecast of the Reserve Bank will be revised. Now, there's a third factor as well that could make things worse, both for the markets and for the global economy as well. The Bank of England announced its sharpest rate hike in 27 years. The bank raised interest rates by 50 basis points to 1.75% to control inflation. That's at a 40-year high. And that's not all. The Bank of England has predicted the longest recession for the United Kingdom since the global financial crisis of 2008. The bank said that the UK economy would begin to shrink in the final quarter of 2022 and contract throughout next year. These are the top worries ahead of that key RBI decision, and all eyes, of course, on RBI's announcement now. Sonia.
Thanks so much, Priyanshi. And this is coming as the US oil rate has dropped below $90 a barrel. Globally, the Brent crude is trading below $96 a barrel. So why exactly are oil rates falling? Remember, these rates are now the same as they were just before the Ukraine war. Experts say it's because of fears of a demand slowdown. We've seen major economies like the US and UK fearing a recession, rising concerns of an economic slump in the US and Europe, and also the strict zero COVID-19 policy in China, given that China is the world's largest oil importer. Our special focus tonight, well, a 1,400 crore drug haul in Mumbai of the drug popularly known as MD, but it's got similarities to Breaking Bad because involved in this was a chemistry postgraduate student as well.
In what is Mumbai's biggest drug haul this year, over 700 kilograms of mephedrone, also known as MD, worth an estimated 1,400 crores in the international market, have been seized. And behind this is not a drugs cartel, but in a Breaking Bad redux, a young chemistry postgraduate actually made the drugs and is one of the 5 accused.
5th नंबर का एक्यूज है वो खुद प्रोड्यूस करता था. 5th नंबर का एक्यूज है वो केमिस्ट्री में पोस्ट ग्रेजुएट है. उसको टेक्निकल नॉलेज है कि किस प्रकार से मेफेड्रोन का प्रोडक्शन किया जा सकता है, उसकी क्वालिटी मेंटेन करना और प्रोडक्शन करना, इस सब चीजों का उसको नॉलेज है और उसी नॉलेज का इस्तेमाल करके वो अपना काम कर रहा था.
However, the big questions remain. Where does the money from this massive drug supply go? And who is the mastermind behind one of the largest drug rackets in Mumbai in recent times? With Sunil Singh, Sakshi Bajaj for NDTV.